First contact's fury. The vast emptiness of space held its breath as the Nexian Empire's patrol fleet moved through the outer rim. Admiral Zarketh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dawn, his scaled fingers drumming against the metallic command console. The Nexians had ruled this sector for millennia, their biomechanical ships the most advanced in known space. Their empire stretched across thousands of worlds, their technology unmatched, their military might unprecedented. Until today. Unknown vessel detected in Sector 7, announced First Officer Nylara, her bioluminescent markings pulsing with concern. Configuration doesn't match any known species. Zarketh's inner eyelids narrowed. Show me. The holographic display materialized before him, revealing a ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. It was smaller than his flagship, perhaps a quarter of the size, but its design defied conventional wisdom. Sleek, angular, with no visible weapon ports or engine exhausts, it seemed to absorb the very light around it. Origin, he demanded. Preliminary scans suggest. Nylara hesitated, her markings flickering. Earth. The bridge fell silent. Earth, the homeworld of humanity, a species that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. They were considered primitive, barely worth monitoring. Yet here was one of their ships, deep in Nexian space. Open communications, Zarketh ordered. Remind these primitives whose territory they've wandered into. The response came immediately, but not in the form they expected. A human appeared on their screen, standing tall in a crisp, dark uniform. Commander Rylan Nash of the HMS Thunderchild studied the alien bridge crew with calm, calculating eyes. Admiral Zarketh. Nash spoke, his voice carrying an authority that made several Nexian officers shift uncomfortably. Your empire's expansion ends here. Zarketh's scales bristled with indignation. You dare threaten the Nexian Empire? One primitive ship against our entire patrol fleet. He gestured to the dozen warships surrounding the lone human vessel. Surrender now, and we might spare your crew for study. Nash's expression didn't change. This is your only warning, Admiral. The Thunderchild is not here to surrender. We're here to deliver a message. Message received, Zarketh snarled. And here's our response. He signaled his weapons officer. Full barrage. Destroy them. The Nexian fleet's weapons blazed to life, filling space with plasma torpedoes and quantum disruptors. The attacks converged on the Thunderchild's position with enough firepower to shatter a small moon. But they never reached their target. The human ship moved, not the crude maneuvering the Nexians expected from Earth technology, but something impossible. The Thunderchild seemed to phase through space itself, the attacks passing harmlessly through where it had been moments before. Impossible, Nylara whispered, her markings now pulsing with fear. No ship can move like that. Before anyone could respond, the Thunderchild reappeared behind their formation. Its hull began to glow with a soft blue light, and then everything changed. The first shot from the human ship wasn't plasma, wasn't any known form of energy weapon. It was something new. A beam of pure gravitational force lanced out, catching one of the Nexian cruisers in its path. The ship didn't explode. It imploded, crushed into a point of infinite density in the blink of an eye. Evasive action. Zarketh roared, but it was too late. The Thunderchild moved again, this time appearing directly above the Eternal Dawn. Nash's voice came through their comms once more, calm as ever. The universe is changing, Admiral. Humanity will no longer stand idle while empires like yours consume worlds and subjugate species. Consider this a demonstration of what happens when you underestimate Earth. What followed was not a battle. It was a revelation. The Thunderchild danced through space like a phantom, its weapons defying the laws of physics as the Nexians understood them. One by one, the pride of the Nexian fleet was reduced to scattered atoms. In less than 10 minutes, Admiral Zarketh watched his entire patrol fleet vanish. Now only the Eternal Dawn remained, its sensors struggling to even track the human vessel that had just rewritten everything they thought they knew about warfare. "Your empire has a choice," Nash continued, his image appearing on their screens one final time. "Withdraw from your conquered territories, return to your original borders, and we can discuss peace." Or, he paused, letting the destruction around them speak for itself. Zarketh, for the first time in his long military career, felt true fear. This wasn't just a ship, it was a harbinger. If this was what one human vessel could do, what else were they capable of? "Spread the word, Admiral," Nash said finally. "Humanity is awake, and we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak any longer. The age of empires is over." With that, the Thunderchild vanished completely, leaving behind a graveyard of ships and a message that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The Nexian Empire had ruled through fear and superior technology for thousands of years. But now they had something new to fear, and their technology seemed primitive in comparison. As the Eternal Dawn limped home, carrying news that would send shockwaves through the galaxy, Admiral Zarketh knew one thing with absolute certainty: the universe would never be the same again. The Silent Strike. Deep within the crystalline spires of the Nexian High Command, panic had replaced certainty. Supreme Commander Ixthor watched the holographic replay of the patrol fleet's destruction for the 20th time, his ceremonial armor feeling heavier with each viewing. Around the circular chamber, the Empire's highest-ranking military leaders sat in stunned silence. "One ship," Ixthor said finally, his voice echoing off the transparent walls. "One human ship destroyed 12 of our most advanced warships." He turned to face the assembled commanders. "And now we've lost contact with 3 more fleets along the outer rim." Fleet Admiral Renvix, her scales dulled with age and wisdom, leaned forward. "The Thunderchild." "We don't know," Ixthor admitted. "Our long-range sensors detect nothing, but ships are vanishing. Entire defensive installations going dark. Whatever the humans have created, it's beyond our ability to track." The chamber's doors slid open, and Admiral Zarketh entered. The survivor of the first encounter with the Thunderchild had been summoned from his recovery chamber. His once proud posture was now haunted by what he'd witnessed. "Tell them," Ixthor commanded. "Tell them what you saw." Zarketh's inner eyelids flickered. It wasn't just the technology. The way they moved, the precision of their attacks. It was as if they could see our movements before we made them. Their commander, this human Nash, he wasn't threatening us. He was teaching us a lesson. On the bridge of the HMS Thunderchild, Commander Rylan Nash stood watching the stars streak by. The ship's quantum drive hummed silently, its revolutionary technology allowing them to traverse space in ways other species thought impossible. Behind him, Lieutenant Commander Diana Santos, his tactical officer, approached with a datapad. "The Nexians are mobilizing their entire home fleet," she reported. "Over 300 capital ships gathering at their core worlds. They're scared." Nash nodded. "Good. Fear might make them listen. What about the targeting data?" Santos pulled up a holographic display. "We've identified 27 key military installations. Their automated defense networks are impressive. But," she smiled slightly, "nothing we can't handle." The Nexians built their empire on the belief that their technology made them invulnerable, Nash said quietly. "Sometimes the most important lessons are the most painful to learn." The Thunderchild's bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. Each member had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their understanding of the mission's true purpose. This wasn't about revenge or conquest. It was about reshaping the galaxy's balance of power. Lieutenant Ravi Patel, their sensor specialist, suddenly straightened at his station. "Commander, detecting multiple Nexian signatures ahead. Looks like they're setting up a blockade around their primary shipyards." "Predictable," Nash replied. "They still think this is about conventional warfare." Santos, initiate silent running. "Let's show them why that's a mistake." The Thunderchild's exterior seemed to ripple, then fade from view. The ship's quantum field didn't just bend light, it bent reality itself, making them not invisible but functionally non-existent to conventional sensors. They slipped through the Nexian blockade like a ghost through walls. Hundreds of enemy ships, their weapons primed and scanning for threats, never detected the human vessel passing within meters of their hulls. The Nexian shipyards were a marvel of engineering, stretching for thousands of kilometers through space. Biomechanical construction bays pulsed with energy as they assembled new warships, while defensive platforms bristled with enough firepower to destroy small fleets. Signal detected, Patil announced. They're transmitting construction data to their entire military network. Perfect timing. Nash smiled. This was why they'd chosen this target. Begin transmission. The Thunderchild's quantum processors came alive, sending carefully crafted code through the Nexian military network. Not to destroy, but to teach. Every ship blueprint, every weapon schematic, every tactical database was subtly altered. Nothing obvious enough to detect, but enough to ensure that every vessel they built from this moment forward would be fundamentally flawed. Transmission complete, Santos reported. Should we leave them a message? Nash considered this, watching the oblivious Nexian ships continue their patrol. No, let them discover the changes slowly. Let them wonder how their mighty technology could suddenly fail them. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. The Thunderchild departed as quietly as it had arrived, leaving behind no trace of its presence, but its impact would be felt for generations. The Nexian Empire, which had relied on technological superiority for millennia, would soon find their newest ships plagued with inexplicable failures. Their weapons would misfire, their shields would fluctuate, and their confidence would crumble. As they prepared to jump to their next target, Nash received a priority transmission from Earth Command. He read it quickly, his expression growing serious. News from the diplomatic corps, he announced to his crew. The Nexians aren't the only ones who noticed our demonstration. 6 other major powers have formed a coalition. They're calling for an emergency council to discuss the human threat. Santos checked her tactical displays. They're afraid we have an entire fleet of ships like the Thunderchild. Let them wonder, Nash replied. Fear of the unknown is a powerful deterrent. Set course for the coalition's gathering point. If they want to discuss humanity's place in the galaxy, we should make sure we're part of the conversation. The Thunderchild vanished into quantum space, leaving behind an empire that was only beginning to understand how completely their world had changed. The silent strike had been perfect. Not a shot fired, not a life lost, but the damage was devastating. The age of Nexian technological supremacy was over, and they didn't even know it yet. Coalition of Fear. The Galactic Summit Station hung in the void like a jewel, its crystalline spires reflecting the light of 3 nearby suns. Within its grand assembly chamber, representatives from the most powerful civilizations in known space gathered in an unprecedented display of unity. Fear had accomplished what centuries of diplomacy could not. Vextra, chief diplomat of the Meridian Consensus, stood before the assembled delegates. Her translucent form shifted colors as she spoke, a sign of the gravity of her words. The evidence is undeniable. This human vessel, this Thunderchild, represents a threat to every civilization in this room. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices and biochemical signals. The hive mind of the synchronized worlds pulsed with anxiety. The quantum architects of the Void Dynasty projected images of possible futures, each darker than the last. Even the typically stoic war priests of the Crimson Expanse showed signs of unease. Our latest intelligence suggests the Nexian Empire has lost contact with over 30 military installations, Vextra continued. Their newest warships are experiencing catastrophic failures, and still, no one has managed to track this human vessel. General Krovac of the Crimson Expanse rose, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming. Then we strike at the source. Earth itself. They cannot have many ships of this capability. We combine our fleets, overwhelm them with numbers, and risk provoking their entire species. interrupted Quantum Seer, Sheol of the Void Dynasty. If one ship can do this much damage, imagine what their full military response might be. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Commander Nash and his crew monitored the summit through quantum taps they'd placed throughout the station. Lieutenant Commander Santos watched the diplomatic feeds with growing concern. "They're talking about a preemptive strike," she reported. "Not just against our ships, but Earth itself." Nash nodded slowly. "Expected. Fear makes people dangerous. Time to change the conversation." He turned to Communications Officer Jensen. "Prepare for broadcast. All frequencies, all languages, simultaneously." The coalition delegates fell silent as their displays suddenly activated. Commander Nash's image appeared before them, as calm and composed as ever. Several representatives recoiled, recognizing him from intelligence reports. "Distinguished delegates," Nash began, "I apologize for interrupting your summit, but since you're discussing humanity's role in galactic affairs, I thought we should be part of the conversation." Vextra's form flashed crimson. "How dare you infiltrate this secure facility? This is a violation of..." "Of what?" Nash interrupted gently. "The same diplomatic protocols your civilizations routinely ignore when dealing with lesser species. The same rules you break when conquering worlds that can't defend themselves." The chamber grew still. Nash continued, his voice carrying an edge of steel beneath its diplomatic tone. "You speak of humanity as a threat, but look at yourselves. You've gathered here not to seek peace, but to plan war. Not because we've attacked you, but because we've demonstrated the ability to defend ourselves." General Krovac surged forward. "Your ship has crippled the Nexian Empire. You've disrupted the balance of power." "A balance built on oppression," Nash countered. "How many species have your civilization subjugated? How many worlds have you stripped bare? You call yourselves advanced, yet you still believe might makes right." The Thunderchild sensors detected multiple fleets moving into position around the station. Nash noted them but continued speaking. "Humanity could have built a fleet of ships like the Thunderchild. We could have emerged from our solar system ready for conquest. Instead, we built one ship as a demonstration and a warning." The hive mind pulsed with confusion. "Warning that the age of unchecked expansion is over. That technological superiority doesn't grant the right to dominate. That humanity will not stand idle while the strong prey upon the weak." Quantum Seer, Seal stepped forward, their probability matrices swirling. "You speak of peace while threatening us with superior technology. How are you any different?" Nash smiled slightly. "Because we haven't fired a single shot at a civilian target. Because despite having the power to do so, we haven't conquered anyone. The Thunderchild isn't a weapon of war. It's a reminder that there's always something more advanced than you think. Always someone watching." Vextra's colors shifted to diplomatic wavelengths. "And what do you propose?" "A new compact," Nash replied. "One that protects developing civilizations. One that prevents technological advantages from becoming tools of oppression. One that ensures peace through mutual respect rather than mutual fear." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Or you can try to destroy us. You can combine your fleets, gather your armies, and attempt to crush humanity before we grow stronger. But ask yourselves this. If one ship can do what the Thunderchild has done, what else might we be capable of?" The coalition delegates looked at each other, centuries of political maneuvering giving way to uncomfortable realization. They had gathered to discuss containing humanity, only to find humanity had already contained them. "The choice is yours," Nash concluded, "but choose carefully. The future of the galaxy depends on it." As his image faded, the chamber erupted in debate. The coalition's united front began to crack as some called for war, while others advocated negotiation. But they all shared one certainty. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity had changed it. Turning point. Not everyone chose peace. While some members of the coalition heeded Commander Nash's warning, others saw only weakness in his offer of diplomacy. In the shadows of the summit, General Krovac of the Crimson Expanse gathered those who refused to bow to human demands. The trap was set in the Helios Nebula, where ancient solar storms created natural sensor interference. 500 warships from 6 different species lay in wait, their engines cold, their weapons primed. Advanced stealth fields and quantum dampeners masked their presence, while gravitational mines filled the surrounding space. The humans believe their technology makes them invincible, Krovac transmitted to his allies. Today we proved them wrong. The bait was carefully crafted, a distress signal from a supposedly neutral research station, claiming to have discovered ancient weapons capable of matching the Thunderchild. The Coalition forces waited, knowing that humanity's self-appointed role as galactic protector would draw them in. They were right. The Thunderchild emerged from quantum space exactly where predicted. Commander Nash stood on his bridge, studying the seemingly empty sector. Lieutenant Commander Santos ran multiple sensor sweeps, while Lieutenant Patil monitored quantum fluctuations. Picking up the research station, Santos reported, "No other signatures, but these solar storms are playing havoc with our standard sensors." Nash nodded slowly. Too perfect. The nebula, the storms, the convenient discovery. He turned to his crew. "They're learning." Good. Before anyone could respond, the trap was sprung. Hundreds of ships decloaked simultaneously, their weapons already firing. Gravitational mines activated, creating a web of distortion fields designed to prevent quantum jumping. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particle weapons converged on the Thunderchild's position. General Krovac allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. No ship can survive this. Not even theirs. The Thunderchild vanished. General Krovac allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. No ship can survive this. Not even theirs. The Thunderchild vanished. Not through quantum jumping. The mines prevented that. Not through conventional movement. The barrage covered every possible escape vector. The human ship simply ceased to exist. "Find them," Krovac roared. "They must be using some new cloaking technology." "Sir," his sensor officer responded, confusion evident in their voice. "I'm detecting temporal anomalies, multiple signatures, all around the fleet." The Thunderchild hadn't just disappeared. It had shattered itself across time, each fragment existing in a slightly different moment. The Coalition fleet found themselves firing at echoes, at shadows, at ships that both existed and didn't exist. Then the real attack began. The Thunderchild, or rather dozens of temporal copies of it, appeared throughout the enemy fleet. Each copy existed for only seconds, but that was enough. Quantum gravitic beams lanced out from impossible angles, striking ships that had no chance to defend against attacks coming from multiple points in time simultaneously. "Impossible," Krovac whispered. "They've weaponized time itself." On the Thunderchild's bridge, Nash watched calmly as his ship's revolutionary chronometric drive tears holes in reality. The technology had been humanity's greatest breakthrough. The ability to exist at multiple points in time simultaneously, to attack not just from different positions in space, but from different moments in time. "Sir," Santos reported, enemy fleet showing signs of complete systemic failure. Their weapons are powering down, shields collapsing. The temporal feedback is disrupting their technology, Nash explained. When you fire a weapon, you expect it to hit a target that exists in the same moment as you. Their systems can't handle targeting something that exists in multiple timeframes. The Coalition fleet began to break apart. Some ships attempted to flee, only to find their engines wouldn't respond. Others tried to maintain formation, but coordination was impossible when each ship experienced time slightly differently. Nash opened a channel to General Krovac's flagship. "You wanted to know what else humanity was capable of. Now you know." The general's cybernetic eyes flickered as his ship's systems failed around him. "This technology, it violates the laws of physics themselves." "No," Nash corrected. "It violates your understanding of physics. Humanity didn't just advance our technology. We discovered that reality itself worked differently than anyone thought. The Thunderchild isn't just a warship. It's proof that everything you think you know about the universe is just the beginning. As the Coalition fleet hung helpless in space, Nash continued, "We could destroy you all. Every ship, every warrior. But that's not why we're here." He nodded to Lieutenant Jensen, who transmitted a complex set of codes to the enemy vessels. "We're returning control of your ships. Return home. Tell your leaders what you witnessed here. Tell them that humanity's offer of peace still stands, but our patience is not infinite." The Thunderchild's temporal copies collapsed back into a single ship, the chronometric drive powering down. Around them, the Coalition fleet systems slowly recovered, their weapons remaining silent. General Krovac, his pride shattered along with his fleet's reputation, asked the question that now burned in every survivor's mind. "What are you?" Nash's response was simple. "We are humanity, and we're teaching the galaxy that there's always more to learn." As the defeated fleet limped away, Nash turned to his crew. "Send word to Earth. Tell them the Coalition's military option has been neutralized. It's time for the real diplomacy to begin." The Thunderchild hung in space, a silent guardian of a new era. The turning point had come not through destruction, but through demonstration. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations had just learned that their understanding of reality itself was limited. The question now was, what would they do with that knowledge? Dawn of a new era. 3 months after the battle in the Helios Nebula, the galaxy had changed more than anyone could have predicted. The Grand Assembly Chamber of Earth's newly constructed diplomatic center, in orbit above Luna, was filled with representatives from over 200 species. Some were former empire builders, others were previously subjugated races, but all were here for the same purpose: to forge a new future. Commander Rylan Nash stood at a viewport, watching shuttles arrive from across the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Santos joined him, holding a datapad with the latest reports. "The Nexian Empire has completed its withdrawal from conquered territories," she reported. 17 formerly occupied species are establishing their own governments. The Crimson Expanse has dismantled its forced labor camps, and the Void Dynasty is sharing its quantum technology with developing worlds. Nash nodded slowly. "And the Thunderchild's influence. Our demonstration changed everything. Not just militarily, but philosophically. The idea that a primitive species could master time itself. It shattered their assumptions about technological progress. Now everyone's questioning what else they might have missed." Inside the chamber, Vextra of the Meridian Consensus stood before the assembled delegates. Her form shifted through calming colors as she spoke. "For millennia, we believed advancement was linear. That technological superiority gave us the right to rule. Humanity showed us not only that we were wrong, but that our very understanding of reality was incomplete. The hive mind of the synchronized worlds pulsed in agreement. We built empires on the assumption that we were the pinnacle of evolution. Now we must ask, what other revelations await us among the stars? Research institutes across the galaxy have been revolutionized. The revelation of the Thunderchild's chronometric drive hadn't just introduced new technology. It had opened entirely new fields of study. Species that once competed for military dominance now collaborated in pushing the boundaries of science. But the greatest change was cultural. The demonstration of humanity's power, combined with their restraint in using it, had introduced a new paradigm in galactic politics. Strength was no longer measured in fleet sizes or conquered territories, but in scientific understanding and diplomatic influence. Nash was called to address the assembly. As he walked to the podium, he remembered the doubts some had expressed about the Thunderchild project. Many on Earth had wanted to build a fleet of advanced warships to emerge into the galaxy ready for war. Instead, they had chosen a different path. When humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, Nash began, we found a galaxy divided. Empires built on conquest, species ranked by their technological achievement, worlds stripped of resources simply because they couldn't defend themselves. He paused, looking across the diverse gathering. We could have joined that cycle. We could have used our discoveries to carve out our own empire. Instead, we chose to break the cycle. The Thunderchild was never meant to be a weapon of war. It was a teacher. Quantum Sirixul spoke up. A rather threatening teacher. Commander. Nash smiled slightly. Sometimes the most important lessons require a dramatic demonstration. We showed you not just what humanity could do, but what any species might achieve if they look at the universe differently. The chronometric drive wasn't built by conquering other worlds or stealing technology. It was created by questioning fundamental assumptions about how reality works. General Krovac, now serving as a diplomatic liaison rather than a military commander, shifted uncomfortably. And what assurance do we have that humanity won't use this power to establish its own empire? Look around you, Nash replied. We've shared our quantum theories with your scientists. We're establishing joint research projects. The Thunderchild's mission wasn't to prove human superiority. It was to show that cooperation achieves more than conquest. The effects were already visible. Former enemy species now worked together in combined scientific endeavors. Worlds that had been stripped of resources were being restored through advanced environmental technology. The galaxy's first truly cooperative space exploration program had been established. As the Assembly moved to ratify the new Galactic Covenant, Nash received a priority message from Earth Command. He read it quickly, then shared a look with Santos. The Thunderchild's next mission would take them beyond the galaxy's rim, into unexplored space. There were mysteries out there that would require the combined knowledge of all species to understand. The dawn of this new era isn't just about humanity, Nash concluded to the Assembly. It's about all of us discovering what's possible when we stop fighting long enough to look up at the stars and ask, what else don't we know? The Thunderchild's legacy would live on not in the battles it won, but in the minds it changed. As the ship prepared for its next mission, now carrying a crew composed of multiple species, Nash reflected on how far they'd come. They had set out to change the galaxy by demonstrating overwhelming power. Instead, they had changed it by showing that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to guide, protect, and inspire. The age of empires was over. The age of discovery had begun, and somewhere out there, beyond known space, new mysteries awaited. Mysteries that would require all of civilization working together to solve. Humanity hadn't just changed the galaxy's political landscape, they had changed its destiny. As the Thunderchild engaged its chronometric drive for another journey into the unknown, Nash gave one final order. Let's show them what we can all achieve together. The ship vanished into quantum space, leaving behind a galaxy forever transformed by the revelation that in the vast cosmic ocean, there was always more to learn, always room to grow, and always another dawn waiting to break.